There is a clip floating around and people think that this is Jimin and JK kissing in a bathtub. We also apparently have a dispatch list coming out and people talking about it, and V found crying. So don't please, it's safe to say, let's get into it. This first story is a little bit interesting and has been a bit of a throwback that has started to resurface and come out. People were very excited to kind of hear about this, not because it was a super exciting story, but because it is something that's relatable and makes V all the more human. Recently, this story has resurfaced where people were talking about how V used to be a little bit more emotional when he was younger back in his trainee days. It's definitely good to be emotional and to be in touch with your feelings, especially as a guy, because most guys are not. But there's a time and place for these things, and when you're training or you have to be professional, this is definitely not the best time to be super emotional. Being emotional with your career as well as being emotional in a professional setting are all things that are definitely advised against. Now, V has talked about how he has learned how to control these emotions, and of course to not get a lot more emotional over these things. There's a lot of stuff to get emotional about in this industry now. How much was actually happening while he was a trainee is still up for debate or for question, but things aren't fair, and oftentimes the people who may or may not deserve an opportunity tend to get it even if you feel that you may deserve it more. It's an industry where you definitely have to put your ego aside when it comes to these sorts of things and not really go on the side of what's fair and what isn't. It's very much an industry that's very cliquey. It's an industry that is very much about who you know rather than who is the most talented or whatever. And we've even seen situations in which it doesn't even matter how famous you are. Reporters, businesses, media companies would much rather promote someone that they know and that they are friends with or that is from America than promote someone who is from outside of the US but maybe is more famous. So I can see why he would get emotional. Now, there are other things as a trainee, especially in K-pop, that would make you emotional. Things like being really tired and overworking, or things like feeling like you might not be able to compete with the other trainees. So things like other people might be doing better, or you might feel like you're not measuring up, and then you can lose an opportunity to be in a boy group. These are all things that can make someone emotional. I would like to offer a little bit of advice for anyone who is in that position where they feel like they might be losing out, or they're scared of losing out, or maybe feeling like they can't compete. I'm a firm believer in whatever was meant to be is meant to be. And if you weren't meant to be in that place at that time with that boy group or whatever, then it would never happen, even if you went back in time 50,000 times and tried it. But oftentimes what a lot of people will notice is if they give it their best shot and they still did not get what they were gunning for, but they didn't give up and they still kept pursuing their dream, but maybe pivot slightly and try something different, they will notice what they end up doing is actually a better opportunity for them than what they could have gotten before. Of course, it's hard to see this when you look at how successful BTS is, and you're sitting there thinking, oh wow, if I was in that group, then I would have just been just as successful. But things don't work out that way. The reason why BTS is so successful is because all 7 of them, if you were to replace one of them, who knows if they would be just as successful now. Speaking of BTS's success, if you do want to check out more BTS videos with me, then make sure you check out the Patreon. I will leave a link at the top of the description. There is a less than $2 tier that will give you access to all of the content there, and we always have a great time fangirling and laughing over there. So if you're interested, make sure you check it out. Success is an interesting thing, and it's not always going to fall into everyone's lap very easily. There's also not just one way to achieve success, so if you hit a wall here, then there might be a door somewhere else. But success and fame is not always the best thing, as sometimes you'll have a lot of rumors and speculation coming out about you that can be a bit too much to deal with. One thing specifically that a lot of people were talking about was this list that apparently came out in 2017 where Dispatch talked about specific couples. This particular image looks like it was taken off of a screen, and it doesn't look like it was officially released by Dispatch themselves. People have then translated the names which were on this alleged list, and it showed that every single person on the list except Jimin and JK had come out publicly to say that they were dating, or had come out publicly to say that they had broken up. All except apparently Jimin and JK. And so a lot of people were thinking that they were going to be the ones to come out soon and say that they are in a relationship together because they're the only ones left on the list. Initially, I thought it was interesting because I wasn't sure when this list came out. Now, apparently, allegedly, this list came out in 2017, but there's no actual proof of when that list actually came out. And a lot of people will say, oh, I swear I've seen it happen in 2017 or whatever. Like, no, actually Google it and see when it actually came out, because I personally have never gotten a really straightforward answer. But then people were pointing out the fact that all of these articles that were talking about the other people that were on the list dating and coming out to say that they were dating were all people that were after the year 2017. So a lot of people were saying that it was clear that Dispatch knew who was dating because it wasn't even publicly announced when they had released their list. However, as I said, we actually don't know when the list was released. We actually don't know the legitimacy of that list and whether that was actually from Dispatch or not. But I suppose that actually doesn't even matter, because if the list was real and it did predict all of the people on there, then Jimin and JK would be the only ones left. However, and what I suspect is that that list came out a little bit later, probably around 2019 or so, and they were just picking old people that had already come out. A lot of people like to say that the label bribed the news outlet with a lot of hush money to try to get them to not talk about this. Now, as bad as a lot of people might view Dispatch as, they do attempt to be as accurate as possible. They still want to remain the news site that breaks the dating rumor, so they want to be as accurate as possible with these things to maintain that reputation. If labels and companies knew that they could just throw money at Dispatch and Dispatch would not talk about the dating rumor, then wouldn't every single label do that? For example, the Jennie and G-Dragon situation, they were both from big labels, so the label definitely could afford to pay hush money, but they did not. Also, if Jimin and JK were in a relationship and the label did know about this and was trying to shut it down, it would have never made it to the list. They would have never been investigated. Does that make sense? Like, if Dispatch knows that they're not able to report on BTS at all, they would never investigate BTS at all, because what's the point? They can't release it. They also would have to pay these photographers to attempt to get footage, get a story, and never post it, understanding that the only way a media company or any news site makes money is when they post the story. So it would be a waste of time for the news site as well as a waste of resources. But people are going to have rumors and people are going to talk about things, which of course is what people do. There was a clip that was floating around where people were either saying that it was Jimin and JK in a bathtub making out, and people were also saying that this was from a drama, like it wasn't real. So what I found out is, yes, this is definitely from a boy love drama, and it's a gay drama in Korea, and this clip is not of Jimin and JK. Now, of course, where did this clip come from? I don't entirely know, because I haven't seen this show, and it's pretty difficult to trace back a clip to the original show, especially without much context of this show. But I think it's interesting because a lot of people probably felt like these types of clips were going to come out from the reality show, like the staff was going to leak it. I definitely don't know how it is in Korea, but in America, things would leak fairly quickly. Like, if something like this did come out, it would be very quick for it to hit the media. And people are very quick to say that the staff within the label leaks everything else. The staff leaks addresses because they can sell it to these stalkers and then they can make a butt ton of money. But if they were to leak all that stuff, then why can't they just leak an actual clip that was to come out? Which is exactly my point, is that we never see these clips. It has not even been sort of leaked. There has been no real footage of both Jimin and JK making out or kissing or doing anything actually really romantic. But even aside from that, we now really can't tell what's real or what's not because of these AI images, and they look so real. So who actually knows what's real and what isn't? So I do want to warn everyone going forward to be a little bit more careful when looking into these things or seeing these things, because you definitely want to make sure that it's real and it's not just AI content. At the same time, you want to approach these things with a sense of thought behind it, try to analyze things like dates and times, and make sure that things actually line up and it makes sense. Let me know what you think. Make sure to check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thanks for this lovely comment right here. Love you, bye.